recently, the Nigerian brothers that helped Jussie Smollett perform his hoax. I don't know if you remember in like 2017 or 2018, Jussie Smollett, he was an actor on television. He pretended like he was attacked by some MAGA, crazy MAGA hat wearing, crazy people who put a noose around his neck and poured bleach on him on the streets of Chicago when it was like 10 degrees out. And he said, "Oh yeah, they attacked me and they said this is MAGA country." Even though who the fuck would say that in Chicago? It's not MAGA country. It's a very blue city and state. That seems implausible. And then they identified him in the middle of the night and they said, "Hey, it's you, that F word from Empire or whatever, that show." And they attacked him. None of it seemed very believable, but at the time, try to remember, tons of people like Kamala Harris, they jumped on this whole train and they said, "This is a sign of Donald Trump's America. It's racist. He has emboldened people, even in Chicago, to attack a black man, to put a noose around his neck." It wasn't a noose, by the way. It was like a shower curtain cord. Donald Trump is racist. You're all racist. All people who voted for him are racist. And this is just emblematic of all of that. Well, it turns out it was a hoax. He totally made it all up. The people who he hired to attack him were two Nigerian brothers. They're not MAGA. Even though in this recent interview they claim to be more conservative thinkers than not. Although I think that might just be, because they're being interviewed
Drifting.
by Fox. Yeah, they're like being interviewed by Fox News, so it's better to say they probably are pretty apolitical. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just so hilarious because number one, if you watch the interview where they reenact it, it's just funny. I mean, the guys are kind of likable. They're just like, "Yeah, we did this," and we're kind of like beating him up, and it's just comical at this point. But at the same time, it's serious because this guy, he stoked racial tension and hatred for no reason other than self-gain. So his brand could be bigger, so he could, be a fighter in the culture war, and like he's the one standing up to MAGA and all of that. And so he willingly, lied to cast all Trump voters in this negative light. It's terrible. I can't think of anything except it's terrible and selfish and short-sighted. And
I mean, has anyone on the left, of note that actually called him out after that, this was found out?
Well, that's another thing that I want to say. As far as I know, none of the people with egg on their face, like Kamala Harris, nobody came out and apologized and said, "Hey, you know what? This idiot totally fooled me." And like, I can understand if a guy, he lied, maybe he lied convincingly, and you jumped on that bandwagon. Okay, sure. But at least after it's all come out, could you at least say, "Hey, I made a mistake. Maybe I should not have just, believed the first person to say, MAGA did this to me or whatever. I should be more discerning about it. I will, I'll try to do better in the future." As far as I know, none of these assholes said that, right? Because you never want to admit you're wrong. You just want to push forward. And this is not even a criticism of like Kamala Harris and the people on the left who are guilty of this, because people on the right are guilty of this too. Like, if you're wrong about something, you don't admit you're wrong. You just push forward to the next thing, right? That's just sort of the way it's done. There's not a lot of like, "Oh, I need to hold myself accountable." That's not really rewarded. So they didn't do that. But it's unfortunate because this was one of those. And the thing is, when it first happened, and I'm not trying to pretend like in hindsight that I was so smarter than I am, but I swear to God, even when it was first reported, I was very skeptical. I was super skeptical. All the facts didn't line up. It was like, okay, you're a famous guy and you're going to Subway at 3 a.m. on like a blizzard in Chicago, and somehow at 3 a.m. during a blizzard in Chicago, two MAGA hat wearing assholes identified you and then like attacked you and poured bleach on you. Like, why did they even have the bleach handy? Are they walking around at 3 a.m. in Chicago thinking, "Hey, if we run to like a liberal, just make sure we have some bleach on us in case we want to attack him"? What? That makes no goddamn sense. So none of the story added up, even at the outset. But
It doesn't make sense, but social media surfaces unlikely events, I guess.
It does, but also these people who just all bought into it, meaning all the people on the left who just said, "Oh, this is awesome! I'm gonna jump on board because this is a chance for me to, be against Donald Trump." They were either a fooled or just didn't care enough to be more critical. I would hope that if some story came up that I would want to jump on. If someone said, "Hey, you know what? In the state of Tennessee, there was a drag queen who was running around and trying to like transition kids, like he kidnapping kids and transitioning them or something. And we got to stand up against it." I would say, like, what are you talking about? Like, some literally, what's going on? Like a drag queen just grabbed and what tried to give him sex change? What's going on? That doesn't sound plausible. Sounds really unrealistic, like you made it up, right? I would hope that I would be critical enough to just look at that and be skeptical and just say, no, this doesn't sound real at all.
Hmm. I would hope that they would at least in the future they would be less susceptible, but I don't think there's any evidence that that's that's the case.
No, because I think that in our social media age, you're kind of just rewarded for being the first to be the reactor, right?
Yeah.
And apologizing for the mistake at the end is like, there's no reward for that. Just move forward to the next outrage, right? So, and again, this is not even a criticism of the left necessarily. It's more criticism of how social media and media works now.